Welcome to Be the Light 365. I'm Pastor Jake. Today we want to talk about the Gospel of Matthew. Now, Matthew, he was one of Jesus' disciples. He was a tax collector. He was looked down on upon a lot of the Jews because he was a tax collector. Tax collectors were not good people back then. They either extorted people out of money, they were thieves, or they worked for the Romans, which was just bad anyways. And it was written, I think, around, they say anywhere between 30 to 40 years after Christ was crucified. Now, most of Matthew is about Jesus being the Messiah. In other words, he was who the prophets had been prophesying about to the Jews. And Jesus, in it, about how Jesus was here to fulfill the word and the laws. In other words, he was here to be what the law could not be. Matter of fact, in 2 Corinthians 3:6 says, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. See, Jesus told him, he said, I'm sorry, but y'all could not even follow the laws. So that's why I came. That's why he was talked about to being the cornerstone. That's why he goes into the Beatitudes. He also gives a great commission to go out and preaching the gospel and baptizing in the name of the Lord, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is because of Jesus was here to fulfill what the law couldn't do. He was that gap. I get to say, well, is the Gospels Old Testament or New Testament? They're both. Because Jesus says that he is there to bridge that gap. So that's what these do. The four Gospels in the front, including Matthew, is to bridge the gap. Is to be between the Old and New Testament. So yes, it's kind of both. So if you ask that question. But the thing about it is Jesus came to fulfill the laws. That's what Matthew talks about. It's why it's here. That's why he does talk about the teaching of Jesus. How we should love, how we should forgive, how we should that we need to obey God, that we need to live for God, that we need to pray to God, and how to pray. Matter of fact, in Matthew 6, it talks about how to pray to God. So I hope y'all get into Matthew, because Matthew's a great book. It's if you take it little by little, even the genealogies, which genealogies are that's the beginning of the book. Starts out of Jesus' lineages, all the way from the beginning to Jesus. But it talks about all these people, and I love it because, if you start looking up these people, like Rahab the harlot, Ruth the Moabite, King David. Well, every one of these people had done wrong in some way, or they weren't even Jew. Ruth was a Moabite. She didn't do wrong, but she was Moabite. She wasn't even considered a Jew. Rahab was a harlot. She was a prostitute, but she helped the Israelites. All these things are real fascinating when you start getting into it, and that's why it was put in there to show you, hey, not everybody perfect can make perfect. Because it's not how you run the race, it's how you finish the race. So I hope y'all get into the Gospel of Matthew. There's a lot about it. I could sit here for days and talk about it because it's just a great book. And just dig into it, but you have to read it from, because it was written for Jews, how a Jew was done, and how their customs and stuff like that were. And the rest of the books we're going to be doing this week, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all have a different people they talk to. I like how this one talks because it explains a lot of stuff. You just have to look deeper into it. I hope you have a blessed week and hope y'all stay with us. Hope you like and subscribe. You have a blessed day.